Hello, this is Mr. Smith, and this is the daily lesson for U.S. and the World on Tuesday, January 26th, 2021. First of all, just looking at this beginning module, you can see, if you haven't already done this before, to update your Canvas profile. So add your picture if you haven't already, for instance, and update any other pertinent information. Then there is the class rules discussion. If you click on that, you can just click reply right there and add a rule that no one else has already posted. And then there's the actual first unit. For today, on Thursday, you can complete, first of all, the Unit 1 Journal 1. And you just click on Submit, and a text box will open up, and you will address this prompt. This unit is about the Middle East up to the year 2000, before 9/11 and the War on Terror. What places do you think will come up from the Middle East in this unit, and what do you know about them already? Click Submit and type 3 sentences to address that prompt. And then we also, today, have taken a day of the notes. And so if you click on that, and then click on this, you will get a copy of the notes. And when you click on that copy of the notes, you should see something like this. It says U.S. and the World Unit 1 Notes at the top. And you'll just type at least 5 significant points from the daily lesson. Today we'll actually go over 2 daily lessons because we didn't have school on Monday. And then on the left-hand side here, you would type 3 questions or comments about the daily lesson. So starting here, we would press enter and type in 5 significant points from this lesson's notes. And you can also find the notes right here if you just need to look at them or pause them at any time. But let's just go over those right now. And here is the first set of notes. And of course, this is before the Middle East, before the Middle East in the year 2000. So first of all, just the day 1 lessons, pre-Islamic Middle East. The Middle East was filled with nomadic peoples, but also some cities based on available resources. And of course, not a surprise in this desert. And it's not all desert, but in the arid region, especially where there is desert, you would find water being the most necessary resource. And of course, on top of that, in order for trade, port cities were also incredibly important. They are both polytheistic and monotheistic religions. Today, we just think of the monotheistic ones that grew out of the Middle East, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, but actually you could find many other religions there, especially before Christianity and Islam were created, and some of them did focus on multiple gods. And one of the examples of an ancient civilization would be the Babylonian Empire, where modern-day Iraq is. The Babylonian Gardens were an example of incredible architecture of the time, and were known as the wonders of the ancient world. There's also Egypt, which is, of course, still a country today, and was the earliest form in human history of government, at least recorded history. And Persia, which is where modern-day Iran is not Arabic, and they had a great vast empire that picked fights with Greece, for instance, uniting the Greek peoples like Athens and Sparta to fight against them. Many cultures, of course, existed within the Middle East because it's a confluence or connecting hub between Asia, Africa, and Europe. And so you would actually see a lot of different peoples move back and forth throughout time in the Middle East. And moving on to the second day of notes, this would be Europe in the Middle East. Now, Europe has a long history with the Middle East, going back to ancient times. Alexander the Great, which created an empire from Macedonia, which is just north of Greece, would expand throughout the Middle East. He would eventually pass away at a young age, and many of his generals would take over different parts of his territory. And one of the descendants of one of these generals was Cleopatra, who would eventually become to be the ruler of Egypt. So Cleopatra actually can trace her roots back to Macedonia, which is part of Europe. So she actually is of European ancestry. And then, of course, the Roman Empire expanded all the way around the Mediterranean, including what we know of as the Middle East, where modern-day Israel is. Trade and territory were very important to them, and controlling all of the port areas around the Mediterranean gave them incredible power. The Ottomans would eventually develop in what we know as modern-day Turkey, and they would bring spices and silk from the east and trade with the European powers in the south of Europe around the Mediterranean. traded with Italian cities, states, of course, helped them flourish, like Venice and Florence, for instance, and that would require great wealth for them, which they would then use to help sponsor the arts and architecture in what became known as the Renaissance. Muslim expansion continued territorially into the Balkans, which is where modern-day Greece is, the whole way across North Africa, and into modern-day Spain, where today you can still find traces of Muslim or Arabic-influenced architecture. But this did concern Europe, and of course the Europeans wanted to keep Europe intact with Christianity, and the church especially was incredibly driven by this, and did make an attempt. The Crusades, for instance, pushed back and attempted to take the Holy Lands, mainly Jerusalem, back away from them, but those were largely unsuccessful. And then we can fast forward to the 19th century, the 1800s, when imperialism saw that the powers of Europe were interested into dividing the Middle East, particularly for its resources. And especially about 1900, petroleum would become incredibly important. And Russia also wanted access to the Middle East because a lot of their northern ports were frozen during the winter, so they wanted access to warm water ports to the south instead. But also would be Britain and France. Britain and France would want those resources and would divide up and make the modern day borders that we all see on maps today with little or no influence from locals. And of course, Britain made a mistake that has carried on with tension and conflict, even violence, for quite a few decades, and that would be the fact that in the early 1900s, they also promised the same territory to both the Israelis and the Palestinian people. The Israelis had been going there, of course, for a number of years, and the flow of people of Jewish descent increased significantly, of course, after World War II and the Holocaust. And because of these two groups basically being promised the same amount of territory, there has been long-standing conflict in that region. But that is all the notes for the day, and you can go ahead and wait till the end of the week to submit those. You'll notice that all of the due dates are set for the end of the week, so you have until Friday at 11:59 p.m. to turn them in. And then the next activity would be maps. And I want you to just try to go through the countries. You can see there's a link here for the Middle Eastern countries. And if you click on that, you'll see a little map quiz comes up, and just try to go through all the countries and get as many right as you can, as long as you expose yourself to the names of the countries that are in the Middle East. And then this next one does the same thing with North African countries. So at least try to go through these. Try to get 100% if you can, if you have to take it through a few times. But definitely try to look at both of these so that way you see all the different countries. And then you can see these next two also go over capitals. And then lastly for the day is to go to the chat and answer the question that was put in. And the question is, what did you learn about today, or what is a question you have about the lesson? And we'll have a bell ringer and a conclusion every day. Today we didn't have a bell ringer, but today there's a conclusion question. And you can go down here and click, or type in the answer and then click send in order to post it. Once then you can find chat over here on this side. If you have any questions, please let me know. Email me at fsmith@gorockets.org. So today we completed once again. We made sure we had our profile update completed. We made sure we put in a discussion for the rules, or we made sure we put in one that nobody else had typed in. We completed this journal here, foreshadowing what we think would be included in the unit. And then we took the first 2 days of notes using the document that's included there. We took a little view of the map quizzes that are in this link, and then we went to the chat and answered the question for the day.